your boy Richard Graves from Richard Graves Group. What you heard in the background a little bit there was Key West by Casso, re-edited by the great John Jellybean Benitez, made in 1982, one of my favorite Italo disco songs. That being said, I just wanted to touch base with you guys today. I'm out of town over by Notre Dame University. Visited the campus, checked it out. Never been down here for some reasons. Doing my studies here, so won't go into detail about all of that. It's neither here nor there, but I did see some of the news regarding Kamala Harris's town hall on CNN with Anderson Cooper. The one part I'm going to review, I'm not going to review the whole thing. I've only seen parts of it. Of course, you have the people on the right said that it sucked completely. The people on the left said it was something phenomenal. In any case, she does address one issue here that's a primary concern to me and a lot of African-American or Black American voters, and that is the issue with the border. And more importantly, the amount of illegal migrants that have been allowed to come into this country. Yes, some of you say that, Republican governors in the states that have been dealing with this crisis, saying that it was too much for them, sent them to sanctuary cities where the sanctuary city mayors were often criticizing these governors and mayors in these towns for not being able to handle the influx of migrants. And since it quadrupled, it got astronomical. And then these cities learned that it requires resources. And of course, you got a city like Chicago that's now $1 billion in debt. And some of that, I believe half of that is due to resources being directed to handle the migrant population. Meanwhile, the infrastructure in schools and all the other things in Black neighborhoods throughout Chicago continue to get worse. So that is a big issue. So the vice president does address the issue. She answers some questions from a kid here from Drexel University. And I'm going to just play it, and I'll stop and comment every now and then and do a quick review. Let's go ahead.
I want you to meet Jackson Weiss. He's a student at Drexel University from Flourtown, Pennsylvania, registered Republican, says he's leaning toward voting for you, but has yet to make a final decision. Jackson.
Thank you, Anderson.
Hey, Jackson.
Thank you for taking the time to be here too, Vice President Harris.
Thank you.
Regarding the rapid increase in the migrant population, how will you ensure that every immigrant is integrated into American society safely? What benefits and subsidies will you provide them with? And how long will these benefits and subsidies last for an individual? Most importantly, will the American citizens' taxes pay for these benefits and subsidies? And if so, how much money will be allocated?
Okay, so first of all, he's asked some very pointed questions. These are very direct. How is it going to be done safely? How much money is going to be spent? What type of benefits will these people be able to get, and how long will they get them in? Will the American taxpayer pay for these things? Now, I'm going to tell you what she's going to say automatically. You guys all know it's the same thing that she said while she was on 60 Minutes in a not hostile environment where she couldn't answer this question. On the Fox News interview, which I don't think was particularly hostile, but a lot of you do. But she still didn't answer the question, and not who knows how many other times she's asked it. But this is direct, and let's see if she actually answers the questions today.
Well, thank you, Jackson. Let's start with this. America's immigration system is broken and it needs to be fixed. And it's been broken for a long time.
She says that every time. We know that. But we're talking about what happened with her during her administration, where the numbers quadrupled when she got rid of some of the things that the former Trump administration had put in place to slow the flow of traffic. Let's continue.
And part of what we need to do is always prioritize what we need to do to strengthen our border. I will tell you, I'm the only person in this race among the two choices that voters have. I've personally prosecuted transnational criminal organizations.
Here we go with this again. She says she personally prosecuted transnational criminal organizations as the Attorney General of the state of California, I believe. Okay. Let's continue.
In the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career making sure that our border is secure and that we do not allow criminals in, and we don't allow that kind of trafficking to happen and come into our country. And as my opponent has proven himself, he would prefer to run on the problem instead of fix the problem.
Now, hold on a second. Now, she said what she has done regarding the border, but none of that was done as these people started coming into the United States of America. Okay, so again, this is what she has done in California, supposedly, and I'm going to look at that record and really go over it. But now they're asking her what you're going to do, not what you have done, and you didn't do any of that within the last 3.5 years.
You may know there were some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress working with others that came up with a border security bill that would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border. Those border agents are overwhelmed. They need the support. They need the backup. It would have allowed us to have more resources to stem the flow of fentanyl. I don't need to tell this state and people around the country.
Okay, so all this flow of people, flow of fentanyl, flow, everything she's saying had subsided significantly under the previous administration before she came into power. They reversed policies that were in place, and then it became a problem. So basically, you exacerbated the problem. Even if the problem had already been there, you exacerbated it. And now you're saying, okay, three and a half years later, I wanted to do this and that by trying to pass a bill right before I know I'm going to run for election, or Biden's going to run for election, or whoever Democrat, to try to act like you're doing something. Unbelievable. Same story every time with her.
What is happening in terms of the scourge of fentanyl and how it is literally killing Americans. It would have put resources into stemming the flow. It would have given more resources to investigate and prosecute transnational criminal organizations. It would have done a lot of good. Donald Trump got wind of the bill and told them, don't put it forward. He killed.
So here we go. Blame Trump because you waited to the fourth quarter of the game to try to do a Hail Mary pass, and that he, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, is leader of the Republican Party. He stopped some Republicans that voted for him. I don't know why the Democrats that didn't vote for it stopped it. I mean, because, there are Democrats that didn't go along with it. So again, I'm trying to figure out, when is she going to answer the question? When are you answering this question? The question is up here. How will you integrate immigrants in the U.S. society safely? What benefits will you give them at what cost to taxpayers? She's not answered that question yet.
Kill the bill because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
Sound bites and phraseology, okay, run on a problem is supposed to fix the problem. You said this before, you still haven't answered the question.
We have to have a secure border, and we have to have a comprehensive pathway for citizenship. And that includes requiring hardworking people, to earn citizenship and do it in a comprehensive, humane, and orderly manner.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, you talk about the bill that Donald Trump quashed, that was in 2024. You talk about the bill he tried to get passed in 2021. That wasn't able to get passed. 2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024, just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that had a dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration do that in 2022, 2023?
Okay, so I'm glad Anderson Cooper was honest enough to press her on the question. So he presses her, why didn't you do anything? Now, let's be real. She didn't even answer the last question. Oh, just a bunch of rhetoric. This is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. No specifics. And specifically, no specific reason as to why she didn't. Now, I have my theory as to why they didn't do anything, why they allowed it. Remember, there were states like Texas and Arizona that tried to use their National Guard units in order to deal with the flow of people. And her administration was suing these states so that they wouldn't. So again, anything that anybody tried to do, she stopped. They weren't doing anything until election time, till the debate time. Now they did some things that did slow things down, which means they could have did all those things the whole time without anything passing from Congress. Let's see how she answers that.
First of all, you're exactly right, Anderson. And as of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal.
So she cut the flow of immigration. All right. She's cut the flow of immigration, and she didn't have to get a bill to pass to do it. So that means it could have been done at any time. Trying to run for office.
Legal immigration
But if it
is
was
low.
that
But hold
easy
on, let
with
me
that
finish.
executive action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem instead.
We didn't do it because we were working with Congress on the last quarter of the game. No, that's called triage. You do it and then you work with Congress at the same time. But let's keep going.
Of a short-term fix.
You couldn't have done one and both at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action. Congress has the authority and the purse. I'd hate to use.
Look, we understand Congress is going to deal with the long-term problem, but apparently you were able to implement a short-term without a congressional ruling and congressional legislative action. But you're still talking around the point. Why didn't you do this before? Simple as that.
DC terms, but literally they write the checks. Part of the issue is in order to really fix the problem at the border. I was just at the border recently talking with border agents. You know what they talk about? Yes, they are overwhelmed. They're working around the clock. And the other thing that they talk to me about, we need more judges down there to deal with asylum claims. We need more personnel down there to deal with processing. But Anderson, and that's where Congress kicks in terms of dedicating the resources to actually fixing the problem. We have dealt with it.
That's all true. All right. Yeah, you need Congress to do those things, but you weren't trying to do them until this election. And you weren't even trying to do the executive action. I'm not even going to listen anymore because it's the same stuff that I've been talking about. Now, I know that my liberal progressive friends, my Democrat friends are going to try to find all kinds of ways to ignore what we just heard and try to dress it up and, hey, I'm wrong for going at her about this. But at the end of the day, those are non-answers. And this is the problem with this candidate. And this is the problem with the Democratic Party. They prioritize open borders, which is why they didn't care. They want to bring as many illegal migrants into this country. Ask a Democrat what they tell you. Ask a progressive. Well, who's going to pick our lettuce and who's going to work in the fields and who's going to work in the restaurants and all this stuff where the illegals are hired? So the progressives, supposed to be the party of labor, is perfectly fine with having a whole bunch of illegal labor cross the border so that corporations can get over by paying them less than they would have to pay an American. And of course, yeah, people want to say immigrants are going to work harder, illegals, of course they're going to work harder because they're leaving a desperate situation on Americans. You're right. Americans are used to a certain standard of living. They're used to having workplace protections. They're used to having 40-hour work weeks. They're used to getting paid overtime if they work overtime. There's a lot of things that American workers are used to. And if a business cannot pay an American worker to do a job, then that business should not be in business because that means they cannot pay the true cost of labor. And yet this is the party of the working class, supposedly. Yet your excuse or your reason to have illegal migrants come over in the millions is so they can work and they can clean your house and they can cut your grass at a price that you can pay, that you're willing to pay. You're not going to pay what you have to pay an American worker. So you're allowing for this distortion of labor to come into the country. Fascinating. It's utterly fascinating to me that, Democrats make that argument and that we still get non-answers from the vice president when it comes to this issue. Hey, man, all I'm saying is this is not a vote for Trump session. This is not a vote for Harris session. This is not a vote for Jill Stein session. This is not a vote for Cornel West or RFK session. This is a write me in if you want to. There's Richard Gray's 2024. You can write me in. But that being said, again, it comes down to the fact that these are questions that are not answered. This is a policy issue that's important. It's related to other policy issues. It's primary importance, though, right up there with inflation. But again, people all have their priorities. We'll see which way people vote. We'll see which way this goes. And that's all I have to say about that. You guys have a nice evening. I'll be back with more commentary as we get closer to Election Day. God bless. Be safe.